Hello, my name is Joshua Gabi. I welcome you to Behavior in Living Organisms, questions 11 to 15. Question 11. What is meant by the term adaptation? Part B. Suggest the significance of the following forms of adaptations and give the relevant examples in each case. 1. Camouflage. 2. Mimicry. 3. Warning correlation. What is meant by the term adaptation? Adaptation refers to a set of structure, physiological, or behavioral characteristics acquired by an organism so as to bring about its successful survival and reproduction in that habitat. It involves the modification of the developmental patterns of the organism so as to raise its probability of surviving and reproducing. Part B. Suggest the significance of the following forms of adaptations and give relevant examples in each case. 1. Camouflage. Camouflage, the use of any combination of materials, coloration, or illumination for concealment, either by making the animal difficult to see or by disguising them as something else. It reduces predation chances, enabling the organism to reproduce and pass on the advantage genes to the offsprings. Examples of camouflage: adaptation in purple moth during the Industrial Revolution, industrial melanism, in which the level of smog and soot led to the disappearance of light-colored moths because they were easily spotted by the predators, which were the birds. Dark-colored ones, however, perfectly blended with the surrounding, harder to be spotted by the predators, evolved to new species. Predators due to food shortage die and have their number reduced. Other examples include color changes in chameleons, dull body coloration in arthropods like cockroaches, and many others. Two, mimicry. Mimicry, species resemble surrounding or take on properties of specific objects or organisms that make them seem unpalatable or noxious to the predator. With this imitation, the mimicking organism escapes predation. Thus, its number increases and can give rise to new species over successive generations. Meanwhile, the predator population may reduce due to food scarcity or co-evolve accordingly. For example, animals like flower mantises, plant hoppers, geometer moth caterpillars resemble strings, barks, leaves, or flowers, sheep in wolves' clothing. Paratable butterflies like Consul Fabius mimics and paratable ones, for example, Heliconius ismenius. Several paratable moths ultrasonically calls to mimic and paratable tiger moth. Some octopuses alter their body shapes and coloration to resemble dangerous sea snakes, and so on. Three, warning coloration. Warning coloration include aposematism, in which the warning signal take on forms of perceivable characteristics, colors revealing possible harm that may be associated with the feeding on the prey. Both the prey and the predator are saved from the potential harm that can be associated with such a feeding interaction. For example, bright colors of the granular poison frog, aposematically colored beetles, Hyclaeus ligand, signals a warning to the potential predators of their toxicity. Number 12. What is meant by a territory? Part B. Outline the advantages and disadvantages of territoriality. Explain what is meant by a territory. A territory is an area selected, demarcated, and defended by an individual or group of individuals of the same species from intruders of the same species or different species. Outline the advantages of territoriality. Exclusive source to food, particularly at time of shortage. Exclusive area for safe and undisturbed mating, for successful breeding and raising young ones. Space for sexual display and courtship, that is, pair formation. Spacing of animals avoid competition, reduces aggression or conflicts, improves local knowledge of predator and resources, exclusive place for retreat and shelter. Dispersion of nest reduces predation, higher survival rates. Males are able to hold on to resources, show their evolutionary fitness, and are attractive to females. Minimize the spread of diseases and parasites. Ensure fittest individual pass on their genes to the next generation. Reduces intraspecific aggression, since actual fighting is rare. Ensures protection of the vulnerable members of the species, the young, old, and sick. Species achieve maximum utilization of the habitat, and available resources are shared among the population. Outline the disadvantages of territoriality. Cost of defending the territory include the risks of physical contact and display of strength. Need to be vigilant for intruders. Vocal or visual communication of territory ownership makes individual vulnerable to predation. Difficult for small animals to hold territory, like more likely to be attacked than large animals. Difficult to move if resources are exhausted. Weak members fail to mate. Members guarding the territory are at a risk of predation. Consumes time and energy. Interferes with feeding, courtship, bearing of young ones. Weak members are relegated to the edge of the habitat. It is associated with aggression and conflict. Higher risks of predation if territory within predators' territory. Easy for predators to find. Ever-present threat of takeover as surplus of animals without territory. Extra vigilance required at certain times of the year, for example, the breeding season. Important of the territory size. If too large, it's hard to maintain control. If too small, few resources for defense. With examples, explain the following concepts in animal behavior. Agonistic behavior. Dominance hierarchy. Outline the importance of each of the above behaviors explained. With examples, explain the concept of animal behaviors. Let's look at agonistic behaviors. Agonistic behaviors, they are ritualized behaviors that substitute for physical contact and fighting. For example, yawn of baboon, dogs and baring their teeth, cats and raising their fur, birds raising their feathers, fighting and physical contact in wolves, coyotes, seals, etc. Dominance hierarchy. A dominance hierarchy is a form of social ranking within a group in which some individuals are more subordinate than others. The ability to form a dominance hierarchy is innate, but the position of each animal assumes may be learned. For example, the pecking order, which is a dominance hierarchy formed by chickens. Top-ranking chicken can peck any other chicken. Chicken lowest in the hierarchy is pecked by all other chicken in the group. B. Outline the importance of each of the above behaviors explained above. Let's start with the importance of agonistic behaviors. Aggressive behavior is used to intimidate another animal of the same species. Animals fight or threaten one another in order to defend their young, their territory, or resources such as food. Animals of the same species rarely fight to the death. Fights are symbolic, highly ritualized. The fight is over when the defeated individual shows submission to the victor. In animals, usually the oldest or strongest wins the argument. Importance of dominance hierarchy. Reduces aggression, established orders and stability. Influences resource partitioning among organisms in the population, food, water. Influences the choice of mating. Subordinate remain to obtain food, avoid predator, chance to mate. Greater ability to detect and deter predators is achieved by a group of individuals working together. Knowledge and protection of food sources is shared within the group. increased feeding efficiency, increased reproductive efficiency. Increased offspring survival through communal feeding and protection, maternal care and group protection enhances survival rate of the young. Young learn through observation and play. (14) With examples, what is meant by migration as part of animal behavior? Part B. Outline advantages and disadvantages of migration of animals. With examples, what is meant by migration as part of animal behavior? Migration is an inborn, seasonal, long-distance travel of animal to specific location, usually with a return. Migration is triggered by seasonal changes in weather, air temperature, day length, or changing food supply. For example, wild beasts move towards rain in the dry season. The salmon return to the native streams to breed after several years at sea. Some animals move from one food source to another, while others migrate to a particular breeding area. B. Outline the advantages of migration of animals. Offer breeding opportunities and good breeding grounds. Organism exploit suitable conditions for mating, breeding, and rearing the young. Animals that migrate have more offspring than resident species. Ensure dispersal of plant propagales. Reduces predator risks. Escape adverse conditions like bad weather and lower temperatures. Flexible strategies. Some members of the species can migrate and others not. Stationary animals risk exhausting food supply, using particularly if competition from other species. Opportunity for different members of species to mate and greater breeding variety. Ideal when specialist food is required because the Earth's resources are not evenly distributed. Birds migrating at night are usually safe from predators, as few daytime birds of prey adapt to nighttime hunting. Part B. Outline the disadvantages of migration of animals. Large amount of energy required to travel long distances. Problems and risks of navigation. Risks of forgetting sites and not being able to find them again. Leave home territory empty, allowing invaders and then fights on returning. Risk at temporary stopover from lack of local knowledge about predators. Vulnerable to weather changes or poor condition in 1 year. Many decisions required, including optimal fuel load and optimum time of departure. Other risks like change from salt to fresh water, vice versa for some fish. Evolutionary maladaptive behavior. In some cases, for example, green turtle feeds on eastern coast of South America, but breeds on Ascension Island, South Atlantic. Risks of nighttime migration if animals normally active in a day night time, like bat predation of birds. (15) Distinguish between disruptive correlation and cryptic correlation. Describe the different instinctive behavior in plants. Describe the different forms of mimicry exhibited by animals. State the advantages and disadvantages of camouflage as anti-predatory behavior. Distinguish between disruptive correlation and cryptic correlation. Disruptive correlation or disruptive camouflage, disruptive patterning, is a form of camouflage at work by breaking up the outline of an animal with a strong contrasting pattern, thus decreasing detectability, and the predators who look at them may not be able to recognize them without their distinct shape being obvious. Cryptic correlation is one that allows the organism to match its background and hence become less vulnerable to predation or to recognition by prey. Describe the difference between instinctive behavior in plants. Tropism. This is a growth movement towards or away from a stimulus. For example, phototropism, geotropism, hydrotropism, and many others. Nastism. It's a non-directional response to a stimulus. For example, when touched, folding of Mimosa pudica leaves, thigmonasty, photonasty, response to light, nyctinasty, movement at night or in the dark, chemonasty, response to chemical or nutrients. Hydronasty, response to water. Thermonasty, response to temperature. Geonasty, gravinasty, response to gravity. Thigmonasty, seismonasty, haptonasty. This one is response to contact. Describe the different forms of mimicry exhibited by animals. Batesian mimicry. The paratable species mimics other distasteful species. For example, viceroy butterfly mimics the poisonous monarch butterfly. The harmless hoverfly mimics the painful sting wasp. Then there is Mullerian mimicry. Both the mimic and the mimicked are unpalatable and dangerous. For example, the five-spot barnet moth and the related moth. State the advantages of camouflage as an anti-predatory behavior. It reduces predation chances, enabling the organism to reproduce and pass on the advantage genes to the offspring. State the disadvantages of camouflage as an anti-predatory behavior. Increased risk of being trampled upon while in the habitat. Thank you very much for participating in behavior in living organisms. Questions 11 to 15. Please do like, share, and subscribe.